everyone. Good evening. Oh wow, I get a pre-performance clap. Wow, this is amazing. I don't think any lecturer has ever gotten a pre-lecturer clap, but thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Tiffany Kuo, and I have the pleasure of, first of all, welcoming you to the Conrad and welcoming you to the lecture. I always love to know first-timers. Any first-timers here? Yes, okay, let's welcome them. We have two first-timers. Woohoo! This is a beautiful space to be, and I hope you keep coming back. I think La Jolla is the happiest place on earth right now, right? We're celebrating the 40th anniversary of SummerFest, the 40th, right? So there will be a birthday song in the program. It's not actual happy birthday. It's a birthday ode, so we'll get to that. And so, you know, a lot of the programs this summer has been named, and every single one of them has a title. And this one is called Remade, Reborn, right? You guys all see that, or you guys were just like, I'm just gonna come? You did see that, okay. Did you see that and say like, me, I wanna be remade, reborn? Is that, was that part of it? Well, so when I saw it, I was thinking like, oh, is it us? Are we going to be remade, reborn? Like, what is going to be remade, reborn, right? But you didn't have to look too far. The next line says, music survives by transformation. Like, okay, so music is remade, reborn, yes? And that's a beautiful concept, isn't it? For music to be remade, reborn. Because you're here in the Conrad, and we get to hear live performance music, right? So in a way, every single time you attend a performance, that music is remade and reborn for us. And tonight we have wonderful players. We have so many players tonight. In this 40th anniversary, they've invited a lot of musicians to come and play for us. And there's going to be 17 musicians on stage in different combinations. There's a conductor. That's a little rare because this is mostly a chamber music, but there will be a conductor. The composer will be here as well, Thomas Addis. And some of you are very familiar already with the name. I think I saw on Monday, Michael gave a lecture. Oh, anybody here for that? Oh, wow. You guys are like A+ students. That was definitely extra credit, I gotta say. You can probably tell me more about Thomas Addis. This is awesome. And he'll be playing from the piano, and he'll be playing his own work as well. And so we're so privileged to think then that musicians are the ones who are gonna transform the music for us, right? Transform this music. The music is gonna be reborn for us. Additionally, I would like you to also think that we as listeners, we as patrons in the audience will also be reborn and remade, because music also transforms us. It can transform our soul, to think very philosophically. It definitely transforms our mood, does it not? Right? We reach for certain types of music when we want to feel a certain thing, right? And it can transform our circumstance, right? Lots of places have just background music all the time. Why? Because they want to transform you, right, into something, whether it's to buy more or for you to relax, whatever it is. And so music also transforms us, right? And the musicians transform the music. And it's this wonderful cycle of back and forth and back and forth. And so tonight's program demonstrates both how musicians have transformed music, and we'll talk about that. Addis is going to transform something by Henry Purcell from a few hundred years ago. And then we are going to be transformed as listeners. All right. So let's look at this program. We do begin with 4 songs by Henry Purcell. Now, I need to let you know the 4 songs were selected by Thomas Addis, and arranged by Thomas Addis. And that's what's up there. And they were selected from different collections of Henry Purcell's song collections. And then they were placed together for tonight, and really even specifically for the 40th anniversary of SummerFest. And so we begin with this song called By Beauteous Softness. And then we go into Come Unto These Yellow Sands, and then followed by Full Fathom 5. And then we conclude that first set with An Evening Hymn. And that's the first set. And in there, what I love about the message of these 4 songs is that it gives a message of transformation for us. It really will illustrate how people are transformed by music. And so we're going to read the text of these songs a little closely so that we can understand where that transformation takes place. And then the next piece is by Thomas Addis, and the work is called Concerto Conciso. And it's something that he had previously written when he was younger in his 20s. And he is going to reborn that piece himself. So he gets to redo his own work and bring it to life again for us in this combination of musicians who are going to be on stage today. And so we get to see and witness that transformation of composers recreating their own works for us. And so tonight, that piece is actually a world premiere. Very exciting, yes? Yeah, yes. I know, it's very rare to catch a world premiere. Plus with the composer playing at the piano. Very authentic. And then the entire program concludes with something you probably know very well if you're a frequent goer of the Conrad, or you like to listen to classical music. If you listen to the radio still like I do, anybody in the car, right? You probably have heard Brahms's piano quintet in F minor multiple times, many, many, many times, and perhaps even in the Conrad. Now, do you know that that work itself was actually the 3rd iteration of Brahms's conception? So it already had 2 sort of incarnations, I like to think, before this one that we have heard so many times. So we are witnessing, sort of retrospectively thinking about Brahms's piano quintet as something that has been reborn and remade, and then now for us to enjoy. So that is the concept of the theme tonight, reborn and remade. And these are our artists or composers whose music we will engage with. So we do sort of begin with the earliest, that's Henry Purcell from the 17th century. So we'll engage with music by Purcell, at the same time arranged by a contemporary composer, Thomas Addis, for the instrumentation here. Then we move into Thomas Addis, who was born in the 20th century, but also now if we are with us in the 21st century. And then we move a little bit back in time into 19th century to listen to Brahms's piano quintet. All right, so that's the full scope. That's the big picture. Now let's dig into each piece. All right, so the first piece I have that we're going to listen to, once again, this is by Purcell, arranged by Addis. The piece is called By Beauteous Softness. And this particular song was for the Queen Mary II. And this is a beautiful portrait of her, yes? Beautiful. And she got the memo too, by the way. Sorry. The polka dots and the stripes. Sorry, it's like a La Jolla joke. I had to just throw it in there. I was like, hey, I see some stripes. I see some polka dots. She got the memo. OK, so this song was written for her 27th birthday in 1689. And this portrait was completed in 1690. So this is kind of what she looked like. Her birthday falls in April, and so this was written for her, and it was sung for her. Additionally, wonderful fact, she had just been crowned for 17 days. So she was a very young queen, yes, in this portrait. And also she had just, and she was a patron of the arts. She has sponsored lots of arts, and she was a friend of Henry Purcell, and so Purcell wrote songs for her, for the Queen. I think if any of us were invited by the King today, we would join. And I'm sure, if you were a composer, you would compose something for the royalty. And so this song, which I'm going to read with you together, is going to be performed tonight in a sort of a variation arrangement. So let's read the words together. By beauteous softness mixed with majesty, an empire over every heart she gains. And from her awful power none would be free. She with such sweetness and such justice reigns. It's a very stately poem, yeah? It's a very powerful and stately. There's sort of two things I was reading as I was reading this poem over and over again. The first is about what belongs to her, that absolute sovereign power as Queen of England. And that power is full of awe, right? Today we would say, awesome. And then I guess back in the day they say, awful, right? So that's why, don't think of it as she was like a bad, not awful, but as in full of awe, right? And then the second thing that is conveyed in these lyrics is that she reigns with character. And that character is soft, and it is sweet, and it is beautiful. It really describes who she is as a person. All right. And I just want to give one more sort of factoid, I call them sometimes, is that, so this is the first of the birthday odes that Henry Purcell wrote for her. And every year thereafter, on her birthday, Henry Purcell writes another one for her for every single year. Sadly, she dies at the age of 32, and so there weren't that many of them. But this is the first one of that series, and I thought we would begin by listening to the characteristics of a Baroque song. Now, many of you who are frequent concert goers here would know that with a Baroque piece, and if it's by Henry Purcell, we're expecting a bass line. Say it, right? A sort of a repetitive bass line, a ground bass, an ostinato, right? And you are going to hear that in this piece. And the reason I keep emphasizing the stateliness of it is that this is a birthday song, and these days we think of happy birthday songs as being very cheery and upbeat, right? We want to dance. But this is a stately one, and it has a ground bass, and it's going to be in the minor key. So it's a little different. It's not what you would expect. So it's really acknowledging her sovereign power, it's acknowledging her stateliness. So I'm going to play the ground bass for you. And then just sort of ease yourself into the Baroque period here. I'm going to play it twice, and then I'll play the melody on top. So you heard the ground bass repeated 4 times there, actually, and then you heard that beautiful melody that floats over it, which will be sung to you tonight. All right, so that really captures both, right? This power as well as the beautiful softness. All right, now let's go to the next piece. And we're going to do this in a pair. The next 2 pieces I'm really excited about. for two reasons. First is that it really will capture how music transforms us, because there's going to be a character in there, and it will be sung. And that character is from Shakespeare's The Tempest. And let me just let you take in the beautiful illustrations here. I did not draw this. Fully acknowledge I did not do this work. I'm just very good at sleuthing and finding beautiful images, right? This illustration, ink and pen with watercolor, is by an Englishman named Arthur Rackham. And Arthur Rackham is an Englishman who is an illustrator from the late 19th to the earliest 20th century. And he was really known for this type of drawing, like depicting a variety of stories that are usually fantastical and sort of mythical. So he did everything from like Peter Pan to Gulliver's Travel to Rip Van Winkle. And he also illustrated Shakespeare's plays, including The Tempest. And then one can also imagine Midsummer Night's Dream, right, with all the fairies, right? All right, so just, yeah. And so I really, I like to just dive right into iconography and just like bring it out. And so a lot of the illustrations are either by him or I used AI. And I asked it to draw like Arthur Rackham. Okay. So some of it is actual Arthur Rackham, and some of it is like Arthur Rackham. These are all actual Arthur Rackham. All right, so I'm not going to tell you the whole story of The Tempest. Don't worry, that might take a while. You only need to know really two characters. The first character is Ariel, and you can see Ariel here on the cover. Okay, and he is like he's not a fairy, he's a spirit. And he's a spirit, and you can see him over here as well. And he lives on this island, this sort of like abandoned-ish island. And he is sort of like he's enslaved. He works for the person who owns the island. And the person who owns the island is Prospero. And so what's going on is that Prospero always tells Ariel, like, I need this done, I need that done. And the way Ariel gets things done is Ariel plays music. And with his musical playing, he can transform anything, right? And so this is an instant in which, people are reborn, remade, because they hear Ariel's music, and then they think something else. So that's why there's this magical island. And so the next two songs feature literally Ariel singing in the play. So in the actual Shakespeare's The Tempest, Act 2, sort of early Act 2, Act 1, Scene 2, right after the shipwreck. So The Tempest is called The Tempest because there was a tempest. And then there was a shipwreck. And then people ended up on the island, right? And so the first sort of character you're going to meet on this island is Ariel. And then the first person who is shipwrecked, whom you meet, is Ferdinand. And so this is Ferdinand in the middle. And it's Ariel's job to get Ferdinand to do a variety of things. Doesn't even matter what. And guess what? Ariel will sing to him, and then he'll think certain things. And so the next two songs in this set, this 4-song, come from this particular moment in the play. And the first song is called Come Unto These Yellow Sands. Isn't that wonderful how everything goes back into La Jolla? Right? I was like, that's so smart. Whoever did this, Inon or Thomas or whoever, or the programmers and everybody who works here at La Jolla, I was like, that is so smart. I love it. Okay, so come onto these yellow sands. All right, let's read the lyrics here. It says, come onto these yellow sands, and then take hands, foot it feetly here and there, and let the rest the chorus bear. Right? And so what's going on is Ariel's like, oh, welcome, Ferdinand, to this island, and you're going to have so much fun. Right? And so here is a depiction by Arthur Rackham of sort of like what Ferdinand is going to experience. So Ferdinand can't see Ariel. Ariel's a spirit, so he's actually not visible to Ferdinand. And this second song here is very playful, and so I'm just going to sort of play a little fragment for you to capture the mood of it. welcoming, isn't it? It's like, hey, welcome to the island. We're going to have so much fun here. And so, yeah, I thought it was very cute that we have this character of Ariel who's magically, saying, enjoy this music. The music will transform you, and you're going to have a wonderful time. And here we are at the Conrad in La Jolla, and we're going to be, sort of graced by all this music. And you can think of the musicians as sort of like these spirits of Ariel who are coming through the Conrad. This song is followed by another song. And in the actual play, not much happens between these two songs. I actually picked up my copy of The Tempest, and I was like, ooh, what's going on? So after Ferdinand hears the first song, he's kind of like, wait. I've been shipwrecked. My dad was there. Where's my dad? What's going on? This is awkward. Why am I hearing voices? I don't understand. Something awkward is going on. So then Ariel's like, let's sing you another song. So Ariel sings this next song, and it's called Full Fathom 5. And I want you to just admire the beautiful illustration here, because it really captures the lyrics. All right, so it says, full fathom 5 thy father lies, of his bones and coral made. Those are pearls that were his eyes. None of him that doth fade, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. Sea nymphs hourly ring his knell. Hark, now I hear them, ding dong bell. It's so wonderful we get to hear the words of Shakespeare, first and foremost. Second of all, we get to hear them set by Purcell and then arranged by Addis. And then now, so what's going on is Ariel's basically saying, oh, don't worry about your father. Your father's just fine. I mean, he's at the bottom of the ocean, 30 feet under, but it's okay. He's turned into coral and pearls. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that lovely? And if you want to grieve him, well, the sea nymphs are doing that for you. The mermaids are tolling the bells for them. He's having his sort of memorial, so don't worry about it. So guess what you're going to hear? Bells, right? What do bells sound like? So you're going to hear that in the ostinato. So Purcell is going to embed that. So I'm just going to play the opening line here for you. So the bell's going to ring over and over again, but it's always in this festive, lively, sprightly mood, because Ariel just wants you to be transformed with the music itself. So that concludes the idea of the music being able to transform us or people, right, into different moods. Now we go into the fourth song, and the fourth song sort of takes us out of Prospero's island into something a little bit more solemn again, and a little bit more religious. And it's an evening hymn, and the words are by Bishop William Fuller. This is the one I asked AI to create. Can you tell? Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is the last song in the set, and it is a hymn. And I really do love this hymn as well, so let's read the text together. Now that the sun hath veiled his light, and bid the world good night, to the soft bed my body I dispose, but where shall my soul repose? Dear God, even in thy arms, and can there be any so sweet security than to thy rest, O my soul, and singing praise the mercy that prolongs thy days. Hallelujah. So also another beautiful imagery with the sunset, aka La Jolla. I do think everything comes back to La Jolla and the Conrad. And so this is, it's just like a separate song that Addis pulls together. It was printed in a collection called Harmonia Sacra by Purcell. It was meant to be sung privately. And so I really love that the set concludes with something that's sort of private and intimate. Once again, acknowledging where we are, acknowledging the songs. And so you can imagine with Ariel in our mind with this beautiful La Jolla sunset in honor of SummerFest, right? We start with a birthday song, and that these 4 songs concludes praising, right, with the words Alleluia. Because Alleluia is really one of these onomatopoeias, right? Because it's just Alleluia. It's just really kind of rolls off the tongue. And you'll hear that it's a beautiful melismatic Alleluia at the end of the song. So that concludes the first set. All right. Now we're going to go into something a little different. So now we have music of Thomas Addis himself. And he is born in 1971, younger than a lot of us. He's a British composer born in London. He is a composer, but he's also a conductor and a pianist, and very, very talented. And I just only wrote 2 of the awards that he's received, and I decided to take some from sort of the 99 since he did receive them quite a while ago. And he's done so much, and I can only write so much on a slide. So I decided to include the 3 operas that he has composed. The first one is called Powder Her Face in 1995. The second one is The Tempest from 2004. And the latest one is called The Exterminating Angel. And since he did write an opera called The Tempest, based on Shakespeare, The Tempest, I thought, wouldn't it be lovely to hear something to segue into his musical language? Because his musical language is very different from Purcell as well as from Brahms. So I would consider his musical language to be more atonal. I would consider it to be sort of like pointillistic. In his rearrangement or premiere of this concerto conciso, he actually adds some ground bass in there. I read the score. It's really interesting. And so to get you in the mood, what better way than to play something that Ariel sings, yeah, from his Tempest. So you can really hear that musical language, how Ariel is captured in Thomas Addis's musical language. So here, Ariel, first of all, it kind of reminded me of Lady Gaga. Let's just like, so Ariel here is this like mystical sort of like still a spirit, right? And she's gonna have incredibly, incredibly high voice. Okay, so you ready? And this is his version of 5 Fathom Deep. very dramatic, very different, yes? A slightly different type of spirit, a slightly different situation, maybe a little bit more dire now, yeah? Ferdinand looks a little scared there, yeah. So that's the musical language as Thomas Addis. This piece does not have voice, so though I love a good coloratura like that. This piece in particular you're going to listen to, Concerto Conciso, is for 11 players. There is a pianist and various instruments. And as previously stated, he first had its iteration in '97, and then he sort of reworked it last year for a world premiere tonight. So there's something really to look forward to in this second piece. And now, the last piece on the program, Johannes Brahms' Piano Quintet in F minor. So you have a long date here, right? 1862 to 1865. He was really only 29 when he started working on this piece. And many of you probably have heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. Those who came after Beethoven really had to live under the shadow of Beethoven. The weight is really that heavy to be a composer in the 19th century and to think, like, how am I going to compose that first symphony? Additionally, he was, that is Brahms, is rather a self-critical and self-conscious man. And so he likes to also sort of play his music for others and see, like, what is the reception like? And additionally, he was also very much aware of Franz Schubert's works. And so the first iteration of this piece that you actually hear tonight was actually written for string quintet in 1862. So that's a string quartet plus another cello, which means that it really would remind one of the Schubert string quintet, right? It's a very, very famous work of Franz Schubert's. Unfortunately, he gave asked Joachim and Joseph Joachim, the famous violinist of the time, to play it and to ask him what he thought of it. And Joachim was like, it's a little too much for a string quintet. And so Brahms was like, okay, I'm going to rework this. So he actually destroyed it. But of course, it's the 21st century. All you have to do is recreate it. So I found a recording, and I thought we'd listen to the opening. What does it sound like as a string quintet? So it's a really big piece, right? And so Joachim says, no, it's too weighty and too dramatic for just the strings. You need to rework this. So then he takes it, back and erases it. And he says, no, let's do it for two pianos, right? The piano's big instrument, right? And you get two of them and you get even bigger, right? You got the big sounds in there. Okay. So he writes it for two piano, and of course, who gets to read it? Clara, right? Clara Schumann gets to read it, right? His very, very dear friend. So Clara reads it. Let's listen to it. I mean, this is not Clara playing, of course. And this one is published. Clara's like, no, you're missing the lyricalness of the strings now. You have the power, but you need to, it's really meant, it's bigger. She wanted something bigger, So he goes, okay, erase that one. Let's rework this again. Well, what if you combine the two, right? One piano and a string quartet. And that's the version we have now. That is the piano quintet version. So I'm going to play again the same excerpt. Good, right? We like that version. Well, that's the version you get. I think that was definitely a 2 thumbs up from everybody because it has the dramatic power of the piano with all the sustaining of the violins and the strings. Right? And so that's the version that we have, and that's the version we get to enjoy as performers, and also we can think back in terms of composers who have reborn and reworked their own works. And so I do conclude with another AI image. I couldn't help it. I was like, what if we are on Prospero's island called La Jolla, and Ariel are these artists who come in and they serenade us, right, like fairies, right? And we are the recipient of all this joy, right? To think once again that phrase that we began with, music survives by transformation. And I really do believe we will all be transformed tonight as we witness them transforming the music for us. So thank you so much.